Alright, welcome back. VIR full course. Not one of my favorite tracks, definitely in the bottom end of the list, but this is probably my favorite configuration. This is a very tricky track. If you were doing Long Beach with all those walls, consider the edge of the track here to be a wall, because if you go off that edge, you're going to have a bad day. So setup here, it is not maybe as sensitive as some tracks, but you definitely need to have some things going on here. And look out for the track temps. I have done a few practice sessions here. It has been 32 to I think 46, and let me tell you, in the 40s, it is a different beast. So really watch out for those track temps. It will actually change some of your gearing through the corners and things like that. So watch out for that. So there are some curbs here that you want to go over. There's some you don't want to go over, and there's some you'll accidentally go over. So the ride height is up. If it is, you can have it lower, but you will be scraping your bottom. The bottom of your car will be definitely sparking, and I find you will actually be losing some traction if your ride height is too low. So watch out for that. 33 in the front. Damper compression 20. If you're really struggling, there are some braking zones that are on hills. You may want to just bump that up to 21. It will add a touch of understeer, but it will keep that back end a little bit more compliant. 56.5% braking for me. For you, it's different, but it's probably going to be a little bit on the lower side of what you normally use. Spring rates, low as they go, front and rear. Cambers, you know my channel, they're not always symmetrical. 2.3 on the left, 2.1 on the right. This is getting pretty high on the cambers. I'm not sure if probably 2.3 on the right shouldn't fail the setup, so you should be fine there. Look at all this yellow. 1.5 toe in the front, one or in the front, of course, left and right. You do need a lot of turn in here. Lots of sloped parts of the track, and you do need that front end to turn in. Understeer here is going to get you into some trouble. Spring rates again low as they go in the rear, and camber 1.5 on left and right. Yeah, very easy to have the back end slide out here. Lots of fast corners. You do need to load up those rear tires and keep them just trying to get as much grip as you can. Toe in 0.2 in the rear. Yeah, tire temps in the rear aren't an issue. The rears are going to get hot, so you probably don't want that toe in turned up too much. Otherwise, you will be having some cooked tires. Ride height in the rear 42. That's just to keep the rake in a proper proportion, and as well so you're not scraping the bottom and getting high-ended on some of those curbs. ARB is 5. If you know my channel, I'm usually up pretty high, but on this track it is pretty low. Yep, very high speed corners here. You have that ARB cranked up. It is going to be hard to keep that back end in check. Damper compression 6 and 18. Yep. Just yeah, you don't want the back end to be too soft, so just keeping that standard. Fuel 14 liters definitely will get you to the end. Well, you may want to experiment with that, but it should not be a problem with 14 liters. 13 liters may actually even be something you can do. So I'm going with 13, but most people use a little more fuel than I do, so 14 should get you around safely. Gear stack tall, no questions. It's tall. Standard ain't gonna do it, and very tall is leaving your top end lacking. So tall it is. As I said, watch those track temps. This is 32. This is my best time. If you are in the 40s, it is not going to be nearly as quick. So Do be aware of that when you are in a session. So coming into turn 1, we'll go through this in slow-mo and then run it out at full speed. Coming into turn 1, looking for the 2 board and the 1 board, braking just after the 2 board. Looks in real time more like I'm between the 1 and the 2. Down into second gear, very hard on the brakes. Do not stomp on the brakes. Get on the brakes and apply them as you turn in, harder and harder, and then start to release them as you turn in. I said that wrong. Apply the brakes as you enter, and then just apply them harder and harder, and then as you turn in, start to release them. It is important not to carry too much speed here. You will run wide and lose a tremendous amount of time. Get up tight to the curb here, and as you kind of come around the apex, make sure you are on the throttle. Cold tires or a hot track, you may want to be shifting down into first for that one. But if it is hot tires and a cooler track, it's faster to hold it in second. And then just working your way back over to the right. Up into third. I don't like to get tight into this corner. If there's someone right behind you, they will, if you leave the door open, they'll probably try and tuck in the inside there. But you want to approach this corner as straight as possible, not trying to jam the car over to the right. So I find it is better to hold a wider line here. So third gear, as you approach the curbs here, getting onto the brakes just to slow the car, load up the front end. Probably could have been just a little bit over wider, and just releasing the brakes, picking up a little bit of throttle, turning in at the end of the curbs, and then again just letting the car roll in and picking up the throttle as early as you dare. Getting onto the green and yellow curbs here just to cut the corner. I could have had the wheel a little straighter here. Full throttle, and all of this green stuff is in place, so use it. If you do not use it, you will cost yourself a whole lot of time. Leaving it in third gear. I think this used to be sandy up here, sandy and gravel kind of stuff, but it is not anymore. So it is a little hard here to judge where to brake and turn in. It is about maybe 3 car lengths past the curbs. It's just going to take a little practice to get some feel. So shifting down into second gear, pretty good blast of brakes. Yes, you can come in here hotter, but you will be compromised. If you are on the right hand side on exit, you are going to lose a lot of time. So turning in nice and tight, just letting the car roll in, getting on those green and white curbs again, picking up the throttle nice and early. I am on the throttle. There is a little lift here. You want to be mid-track or as far left as you can be. You do not want to be here. If you are here, this is going to be slow. And picking up that throttle, just a little bit of a lift. You do not want to run wide here, and then on full throttle at the apex, and no lifting. When the tires are cold, you'll probably have to lift. If you're battling, you'll have to lift, but at this point, you are on full throttle for a long time. This curb on the left, consider this a wall. Do not get on this curb. It's bad news. So yeah, picking up the throttle, and it is full throttle for a long stretch. Yeah, go have a drink and a smoke or something, because this is a long time of full throttle. Get on the green and yellow curbs, the first couple here, just to tighten it up and keep the car minimal steering inputs. You do not want to be putting a whole lot of steering input in here. It won't cost you much time, but it will cost you a little. Passing here, definitely in this section, and then through the snake here, not a good idea. And then watch, just as the last part here, make sure you are on the left. Cutting over to the right here, especially a hotter track or cold tires, the back end can get a little loose through here. So just try and straight line this as much as possible, minimal steering input, and yeah, you can graze this curb here. It's not going to upset things too much. And then you're looking for the dip in the pavement. Cold tires, you probably want to downshift here, But just once you get into the dip of the pavement, just a little bit of brake just to load up that front end, get the car turned in. Very important to cut this corner as much as possible. If you do not cut this corner, you are going to be going onto the grass. And picking up the throttle nice and early. Again, very important to pick up that throttle nice and early. If you do not, it is surprising how much time you lose through here. However, if you go on the grass, you will lose a lot more time, so don't cook it into this one. Use all of the curb on exit, and then, yep, just full throttle. So looking for the 2 board and the 1 board again. Again, in real time, it looks like I'm between them, but in slow-mo here, I am braking at the 2 board. Down into second, turning in at the turn-in sign. There's a good idea. Releasing the brakes as you turn in. And this track, especially if you were in a lower split, and people have not watched my track guide, tell them about my track guide, because they're going to be taking some very different lines through here and very different braking points. So watch out for that. Very, very easy to crash here if someone's going for the curbs here and braking and catching you out, because you don't want to do that. You want to be releasing the brake, running wide. This is not really the corner or the apex. You want to be taking the car way up to the top here, way up to the top. It will surprise you if you've never done this track before, how tricky this is when you first learn it. But you got to get way up to the top here. When you are at the crest of the hill, shifting down into first gear, just off throttle, and then as you turn in, picking up the throttle again very, very early. There's no oak tree here anymore as a guide, but turning in very early and getting on that throttle very early, cutting that corner, and then letting the wheel unwind and using all of this green stuff on exit. Again, as you come around that corner, don't stomp on the throttle. You will run wide into that sand. It will give you an X, and you will cost yourself some time down this very, very long straight. So this straight, the car can get a little loose, so if you're going side by side, this is a big battling area. Do watch it. Yeah, the car is loose through this straight, and it's very easy to drift into someone. Straights you don't usually consider to be crashy, but this one can be. So looking for the 1 board, or the 2 board, probably should be looking at the 1 board. I did get on the brakes here a little bit early, and then turning in, getting the car straight, shifting down into 3rd gear, a little bit of brake, not hard on the brakes, just enough to slow the car down a bit. Do not be braking or turning if you are on this curb. It is deadly. It is really disruptive, surprisingly disruptive. And then once you're off that curb, if you got on it, hard on the brakes, down into 2nd gear. Ideally, maybe a little bit more over to the left, but again, that opens the door for someone to pass you as well. And then just releasing the brakes as you turn in. You can catch a little bit of this curb, but it's not really helpful. And then picking up the throttle nice and early. As you get to the apex of this corner, again, full throttle. This is a windy section, but if you've done everything correctly, you can keep the throttle pinned. And then again, not way over to the left. You want to keep it just enough room so you can keep through here with full throttle. If you have to lift, it's going to cost you. And over to the right hand side here, looking just past the curb here as a lift in 3rd gear. Even cold tires, this one's not so hard if you do it right. Just a big lift just to get the car turned in, get onto the red and yellow curbs. Do not get on the grass, that's an X. And then just a little bit of throttle just to manage here as you come in. Well, this time I did not have any throttle on. You want just a little bit of throttle, and then getting onto the curb here. Again, do not stomp on the throttle. You think you can, and you can, but you will run wide. So just a little bit of throttle. Very important to get into the camber of this corner. If you do not get into the camber of this corner, you are going to be going on the grass. And then now picking up the throttle, once the car is really rotated through that corner, and then again just gently getting over to the right, just to shorten the track, cut this corner as much as possible, and then just unwinding the wheel, heading over to the left and then back over to the right. Big straight here, the finish line's a long way away, very possible to overtake on the last lap here, so yeah, watch out for that. That is a good opportunity if you are just behind the guy or they screwed up that last corner. And that is a 159.7. I left a little bit of time on the table with this track temp. However, once it is into the 40s, probably 159s aren't going to be what you're doing. You're probably going to be in the 2-minute range, 2-minute flat sort of thing. So good luck out there. I will run this out at full speed, and yeah, try to stay safe. This can be a pretty crashy track.